Good evening, glad that you are watching your channel of choice on the news tonight. Tonight, the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments gives the much coveted green light to all but one of President William Ruto's cabinet nominees.
And 24 rejects the appointment of the Honorable Penina Malonza, OGW, as a cabinet secretary for tourism, wildlife, and heritage.
President William Ruto deems the hopes of millions of Kenyans hoping for a quick fix to the high cost of living.
Wale walioharibu hii mambo ya unga mpaka ikafika shilingi 230 walikoroga hiyo mambo kwa miaka 4. Si ndio? Si waliharibu kwa miaka 4? Munipatie tu mwaka moja peke yake nitakuwa nimenyorosha.
The head of state now says it will take a year for Kenyans to enjoy lowered food prices. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority jealously guards its constitutional mandate, telling of the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service.
So we are also asking that this authority be left to carry out its mandate without interference from the National Police Service.
In a new battle to check police excesses, Mbesa is our sign language interpreter. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, it will take at least 1 year for Kenyans to get a reprieve from the high cost of living and specifically a drop in unga prices. President William Ruto now says Kenyans will have to wait for the results of the subsidized fertilizers. Flora Limuki begins our broadcast tonight.
Kenyans will have to wait a little longer to get out of the woods as tough economic times persist. President William Ruto now saying that it will take over 1 year for the price of unga to go down. At the moment, a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour costs upwards of 200 shillings, which is out of reach of many Kenyans.
Si waliharibu kwa miaka 4? Munipatie tu mwaka moja peke yake nitakuwa nimenyorosha. Lazima tupunguze gharama ya maisha.
This follows his order to have a 50 kg fertilizer bag retail at 3,500 Kenyan shillings. Ruto, who ascended to power with the promise to lower the cost of living, insists that his government is keen on improving food security.
Tayari tumepatia wakulima wetu mbolea magunia 1.5 million na tunawapatia ingine magunia 6 wazalishe chakula, ndio chakula ifike hapa ikiwa bei nafuu na bei ya unga tuanze kuiteremusha.
During the cabinet nominees vetting, any hope that Kenyans had for the cost of living to go down was buried after the agriculture cabinet nominee Mithika Linturi said the only intervention for the current situation would involve subsidies which the government has stopped.
The price of unga, Mr. Speaker, I don't think will also come down immediately because unless government is willing and ready to continue with the subsidy to bring down the cost of unga.
The president now insists that his government is focused on the long-term interventions, which include produce from the subsidized fertilizer being distributed. Flora Limuki, TV47.
Now, observers have raised a number of questions regarding the roles of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, a body that provides civilians oversight over the work of the police, and the Internal Affairs Unit, a unit within the National Police Service. This comes just a day after 4 officers from the recently disbanded special unit of the DCI were arraigned in court of law. Now, we spoke to security experts to break down the roles and functions of the two in this story that was produced by our very own Andrew Juma.
Even before the dust on the Special Service Unit disbandment by the Acting Inspector of Police, Nur Gabo, settles, another Cold War has erupted between the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, and the Internal Affairs Unit, a unit within the National Police Service, over their seemingly overlapping roles in checking police excesses.
So we are also asking that this authority be left to carry out its mandate without interference from the National Police Service. The chair has mentioned, and I want to emphasize, the authority has met serious challenges of non-cooperation from the members of the National Police Service. We hardly get cooperation. When we summon, we have to insist that they come.
According to IPOA, the Internal Affairs Unit has gone ahead to carry out functions which are well defined and stipulated in the Constitution to be performed by IPOA.
And in case that doesn't happen, there is a provision in our Act that requires us to enforce cooperation, that is Section 31, and it has a penalty attached to it.
The IPOA Act mandates the authority to undertake the following key functions: to investigate deaths and serious injuries caused by police action, to investigate police misconduct, to monitor, review, and audit investigations and actions by Internal Affairs Unit of the Police, to conduct inspections of police premises, to monitor and investigate policing operations and deployment, to review the functioning of the internal disciplinary process. The Internal Affairs Unit, on the other hand, is mandated to carry out the following functions: receiving and investigating complaints against police, promoting uniform standards of discipline and good order in the service, keeping a record of facts of any complaints or investigations made to it without making prejudice to subsection 2. The unit may, where necessary, investigate and recommend appropriate action if anyone is found engaging in any unlawful conduct.
As we clearly put it very clearly, these police officers who are junior are being forced, coerced, intimidated to implicate their bosses, their superiors. Their superiors are not in this matter.
According to Byron Adera, a former Kenya Special Forces officer who is now a security analyst, the move by IPOA to attack the IAU is not only causing conflict of interest but also causing confusion in the security circles, making the matter to be more sensitive in the country.
So that is what has been happening. It's not just IPOA, but all the other institutions that you can imagine. We it independent police and oversight authority that, we are in the IPOA, that is be it internal affairs that's now charged with it. Because if you have all these bodies that are actually siphoning taxpayers' money and they were doing their jobs right, then it only means that the outcomes of the performance or the outcomes of performances thereof of the bodies that they are oversighting, it should be seen to have improved.
Adera further insists that the head of state must move with speed to stop the war by bringing the two parties on board to avoid fights among those entrusted with checking police excesses.
As you all know, by law we are supposed to investigate them. We cannot investigate structures that we don't know they exist. So it's an obligation of the Inspector General to do that, and the authority has since written to the Inspector General to require him to share with us the relevant formations that there are, or units that there are within the NPS.
Now, a day after the shooting and killing of Pakistani journalist Arshad Sharif, it has now emerged that the slain scribe fled Pakistan for allegedly criticizing state institutions. However, the Pakistani High Commissioner has denied the claims, insisting that Sharif was in Kenya as a tourist. Mike Agongo reports.
पाकिस्तान और दुनिया भर में देखने और सुनने वालों को अरशद शरीफ का सलाम.
Barely a day after his body was flown back to Pakistan for funeral preparations, Pakistani scribe Arshad Sharif's death has elicited mixed reactions, not only in Kenya but worldwide, with unanswered questions as to what transpired before his demise coming to the fore. Sharif is said to have fled Pakistan in August this year due to sedition charges leveled against him. Reports indicate that the slain scribe had interviewed the Pakistani opposition leader Shahbaz Gill, a close ally of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Following the interview, Gill was also charged with sedition by the Pakistani police for allegedly making anti-state comments. Sharif's TV channel RATV initially claimed that it was being hounded by the present regime, but then said it had cut ties with Sharif after it was taken off air for about a month on August 8th by the Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority. For his safety, Sharif had to flee Pakistan in August. He had initially gone to Dubai, but he was forced to flee from the UAE due to harassment by Pakistani officials. The 50-year-old award-winning journalist had only been in Kenya for a few weeks before meeting his demise in unclear circumstances. In a press interview, Pakistan's embassy officials said Sharif was in Kenya as a tourist.
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, he got a visa over here. If he was on a run or any security list, he wouldn't have got a visa. Because immediately on all 9 visas, you know, all these things, all these prompts come up. I don't think so, no.
However, the Pakistani government has ordered a judicial commission to investigate the killing of Arshad Sharif. Mike, GOtv 47, Nairobi.
Tonight, President William Ruto's cabinet nominees Aisha Jumwa, Mithika Linturi and Penina Malonza have left the National Assembly deeply divided ahead of a crucial vote on the Committees of Appointments 2 reports on Wednesday to approve the nominees. The Committee on Appointments majority report tabled today unanimously rejected Tourism Cabinet nominee Penina Malonza, but differed on Linturi and Jumwa, whom the minority side in an apprehended report wants to be voted out by MPs. Our senior political affairs reporter Apollo Kamau has the details.
And 24 rejects the appointment of the Honorable Penina Malonza, OGW.
Members of Parliament voiced their opposition to a majority report rejecting Penina Malonza as a CS nominee for tourism, as divisions emerged on the fate of President William Ruto's 2 other nominees, Aisha Jumwa and Mithika Linturi, due to integrity questions. This was after the committee's divisive report was tabled in the National Assembly, with the 2 sides within the Committee on Appointments closing ranks on the rejection of Malonza in a unanimous decision, a move that did not go down well with a section of MPs unhappy with her rejection.
The nominee did not demonstrate knowledge of topical, administrative and technical issues touching on the Ministry of Tourism and Heritage. Consequently, the nominee lacks requisite abilities and experience to serve as a Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage.
Our report should not condemn one Penina Malonza. That after this report,
don't look good. You have rejected that lady called Malonza. Please don't look good. Live with it, move the motion, second it properly, then leave it to us.
He's opposing the report. Can he come straight forward and tell us that now they have changed their mind, they want to withdraw the report or amend the report?
The elephant in the room being Agriculture CS nominee Mithika Linturi and Public Service and Gender CS nominee Aisha Jumwa, who have pending court cases, which left the committee divided while drafting its report, forcing the committee to take a vote on Jumwa and Linturi, with both receiving 10 votes from the majority side. 8 MPs rejected Linturi, while 7 rejected Jumwa, forcing the minority side to append its dissenting report.
Speaker, when you are talking about the cabinet of the Republic of Kenya, and you want to have a cabinet minister seated there who has a live case in court, not a capital offense, Madam Speaker, of murder, Madam Speaker, how do you want this House to approve that, Madam Speaker, unless we have lost our head, Madam Speaker?
Stakes are high for President Ruto's nominees ahead of Wednesday afternoon's crucial vote, with the minority side rallying MPs to reject Jumwa and Linturi on integrity grounds.
We cannot allow to have persons against whom we have got issues, however slight they might to be paraded and to be encouraged to be shepherded to the high offices of cabinet secretaries and the likes. This House must stand firm and be on the right side of history.
Apol Kamau, TV 47.
Now, the National Assembly Committee on Appointments has rejected the nomination of Penina Malonza as Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. But even as the committee gave its unanimous reasons for the rejection, it remained divided over other nominees. Elizabeth Mutuku has more.
The men and women who will assist President William Ruto in delivering his campaign promises to Kenyans were confirmed today via a report tabled in an afternoon session of the National Assembly by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah.
Yes.
The president's nominee getting the green light save for nominee on tourism and heritage Penina Malonza, whom according to the report did not demonstrate knowledge on topical administrative and technical issues touching on the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage.
She was indeed remorseful that she was a bit shaken when she appeared for the interview. And I understood the Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I only speak about Honorable Speaker because I want to state it to the country and honorable members in this House that in consideration of everything that was tabled before the committee, there was absolutely nothing adverse against Penina Malonza. And her case now rests in the hands of the honorable members of this august House for you to decide.
However, some members of parliament came out guns blazing in defense of the nominee whom they say would make a great cabinet secretary. They went ahead to compare her credibility to that of others who got coveted approval of the Committee on Appointments. Some legislators were of the opinion that the report can be amended, urging parliament to reject the report in its entirety or approve it without dropping Malonza's name.
There are doubts whether their papers are genuine. Penina Malonza's papers are assessed to be genuine, Honorable Speaker. But despite all this, the people with corruption-related cases, even though there are allegations, the people with criminal-related cases, even though there are allegations, the people whose papers are seen to be not genuine, have been approved by this same committee, Honorable Speaker. And then Penina Malonza, who seems to have no issue at all, Honorable Speaker, is being said to be not qualified to be a CS in this country. Honorable Speaker, I must say, these are double standards.
Play when such appointments or opportunities arise during the appointments. I call upon my colleague leaders that let's learn to put our country ahead of everything. My imagination is that even the local politics must have played in this whole thing to reject, that warranted the rejection of Penina Malonza. However, Honorable Speaker, it is wrong to only use one parameter to deny her. I think if we were to be fair, we ought to have allowed every, if the rejection ought to be on matters that are serious, that affect that touch on Chapter 6 of the Constitution, that touch on suitability, but not on issues of, presentation to the committee.
During our vetting on October 19th, the former Kitui Deputy Governor was called out by members of parliament for misrepresentation of facts when responding to questions by the panel.
And sometimes you are put in a field that you do not have the knowledge at that particular time. Our presence also is intimidating, but I want to ask you, take a lot of time to appraise yourself to matters tourism and wildlife.
In the report by the vetting committee, they stated that Malonza did not satisfy them with our responses to some of the questions put before her during the vetting process. The House is expected to vote and pass or reject the report tomorrow. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47.
Now, the Senate Committee on Health has begun an investigation into the death of 2-year-old Travis Minor, who died after a fork jembe was lodged in his head for over 24 hours. The committee, led by its chair, who is also the Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago, has said that it is starting from next week investigations, and it will be meeting parents of the deceased and others who handled the baby to establish whether or not negligence played a part in causing the death of the minor. Zainab Mohammed has more.
The Senate's Health Committee has set the ball rolling and intends to employ a raft of measures to better healthcare in the country. According to the committee, issues such as gaps in the health referral system, lack of drugs in hospitals, policy issues and negligence by hospitals will form the key focus areas for the probe.
Committee, we are now seized of the matter. We are taking steps as a Committee for Health to investigate the matter thoroughly, with a view of addressing the gaps and also policy issues that may arise as a result of that incident. We are aware that that could be one incident, but there could be so many other incidents that are not reported. But since this matter has been reported as a committee, we are going to investigate.
Starting next week, the committee will be meeting parents to the deceased, representatives from the county government of Kiambu, the management of both Thika Level 5 Hospital and Kenyatta National Hospital, as well as officials from the Ministry of Health.
We are also going to be inviting NHIF so that we can be able to see how far we are going with this issue of universal healthcare. I know there are amendments into the Act which have been proposed. So those are all the issues that we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be talking to KEMSA to be able to understand whether these hospitals have drugs, whether the pending bills have been cleared, because it will be important for the new governors or even the governors who will be doing their second term to make sure that they clear all pending bills so that hospitals can have drugs.
The committee issued a stern warning to hospitals that discriminate against patients who cannot afford healthcare services, saying emergency services should be accorded to all.
The issue of access to healthcare, with or without money, is a matter that this committee is determined to be able to follow up with the hospitals and send a very strong warning to the hospitals to be able to make sure that at least people are accorded with health services, whether or not they have resources or not.
This is the first order of business being undertaken by the newly formed Health Committee. Young Travis Maina succumbed to his injuries on October 11th at Kenyatta National Hospital. He was referred to the hospital by Thika Level 5 Hospital due to the complicated nature of his injury. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
To matters education, and the Teachers Service Commission has been accused of breaking up families after it introduced delocalization of teachers. And as our senior education affairs reporter Sharon Baranga now reports, the mass transfer of teachers has been a subject that has been opposed by a number of stakeholders in the education sector, with the government promising to abolish it.
For quite some time, teachers' unions in the country have been at loggerheads with the Teachers Service Commission on the subject of delocalization. At some point, teachers deployed to arid and semi-arid regions pitched camp at the Kenya National Union of Teachers headquarters in Nairobi in an attempt to put pressure on their employer to transfer them from their workstations on grounds of insecurity. This was after they lost some of their colleagues at terrorists' hand, and the subject of delocalization has been one that has dominated conversations in the education sector, with a number of leaders pushing for it to be abolished.
Motion, a review of teacher development policy.
On Tuesday in Parliament, the issue of transferring teachers came up.
Honorable Speaker, Teacher Service Commission has broken marriages. Teacher Service Commission has destroyed families. And this is very important for us to realize that when families are broken, a country or a nation is broken.
At some point, leaders in the National Assembly collided on the issue of mass transfer of teachers.
When the localization came in place, teachers' unions were stifled. Life was taken out of the unions of the teachers. Those who were supposed to defend teachers, I will even mention the Honorable Mboko Milemba, who is here and he was in the last Parliament. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Milemba could not even speak on behalf of teachers because TSC was sitting on him. TSC was harassing him.
In as much as I appreciate Member for Lurambi for this very good motion, which I'm prepared to speak on, Honorable Speaker, I don't think it's in order to shout my name in Parliament here, remembering that I'm the national chairman of the teachers of Kenya, and I speak for the teachers when I have to speak for them. Now that we are in Parliament, I would really ask him to be orderly so that he speaks on parliamentary issues without necessarily shouting my name as not having spoken for the teachers. Yet that's the work I do, Honorable Speaker.
And I appreciate Honorable Mboko Milemba, who's my friend, and it was on a light note, because I know what you and Honorable Sosion went through. It was very difficult.
The Kenya Kwanza government cited the issue of mass transfer of teachers in their campaign manifesto, promising teachers that they will scrape off the policy.
We'll be engaging with the TSC next week so that the issue of delocalization is dealt with once and for all. And teachers who are taken to places and their families put in an awkward situation, that matter is addressed so that we build strong family ties for a stronger nation.
The Teacher Service Commission kicked off the delocalization of teachers in January 2018. Other massive deployments will then follow in April, August and December of the same year, though in April 2019, the Commission slowed down the transfers as only a few administrators were moved. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, has ordered the immediate arrest of 7 people suspected to have abducted 3 minors while claiming that they are related to the family. According to the family, the suspects are strangers to them and they are now seeking to have custody of the children month after the death of their mother, who was found dead in a flat. Chepto Boit with the details.
The Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji, has ordered immediate arrest of a prominent businessman and 6 others be arraigned following charges on child abduction. The DPP, upon perusal of the inquiry file, found and held that the 7 suspects are liable for the offence of abducting 3 minors contrary to the provisions of the law. The complaint was made by the father of the minors, Nikesh Harji Sengani, who lost his wife earlier this year.
Once that resistance of complying with police attempt to arrest, we demand that the police moves with full speed, because there is an approved charge sheet and those people be arraigned in court immediately.
Kama hajafikisha miaka ya kuachiliwa, aweze kujiongoza, ako chini ya wazazi. Na haifai mtu yote kuchukua wale watoto ananyang'anya mzazi wake. Si sheria haifai. Na wale ambao wamenyang'anya hawa ni wananyang'anya familia hii, maana ni maskini.
This comes months after the family filed a case in court seeking to have custody of their 3 children who were allegedly taken by strangers after the death of their mother. The family claims that the children, among them twins who were said to be 5 months old at that time, were taken away from him in April.
One is 5 years. 5 years. The msichana iko miaka 5 na kijana ako miezi 5, Billy. Liko pacha. Twins. Sasa sijui siku gani tarudi hiyo jana. Sielewi sasa. Na hiyo hakuna kitu, kuna watu wanatumia nguvu ya pesa tu. Hakuna kitu wengine.
To know the progress of how the police have succeeded or have failed to arrest those people who have been involved in an international syndicate of taking children from Kenya, taking them out of the country, demanding that the father surrenders those children, and which is very, very bad. In
court papers filed earlier on by the suspects who are in custody of the children, they have been providing for the minors, adding that they are relatives, an argument that the family has dismissed.
Sheria afanye kazi, warudishe jukuu yangu. Hakuna njia nyingine mimi nafanya.
27-year-old Vanita Sengani, the mother of the children, was found dead in her Temple Flats home in Lang'ata on April 3rd. Vanita's neck was tied to the window grills with her feet touching the floor. Chepto Boit, TV 47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Chepto Boit, for that report. Time for us to take a short break. Stay with us.
do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali
of untold stories.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to more news. And sadness filled the air at Monanda village in Subukia, Nakuru County during the burial of Margaret Ruguru, who died 7 months ago under mysterious circumstances while working as a domestic worker in Saudi Arabia. Ruguru died while in the city of Riyadh, where she had secured employment after leaving the country in May 2021. Chichi Josephine has filed this report.
Family, friends and neighbors gathered to pay their last respect to Margaret Ruguru, whose alleged killers managed to cover up her death for 7 months before her family was informed of her demise. Her father, Michael Waweru, recalled the last time he talked with his daughter in February through a WhatsApp video which lasted for 1 hour. A month later, in March 6, she informed her mother that she was receiving death threats by her employer over a missing TV remote control.
Barua zenye wametuletea wanaandika normal death. Lakini ukiangalia tamimi wa Mangi unaona umeumia. Juu mtoto wangu macho hana macho, hakuwa unaona damu venye ilikuwa inatoka. Sasa hatujui zaidi hapo.
Sisi wasasi tunaachiwa watoto waende wakatafute. Wanapoenda ona yenye imetupata sisi familia hii, na siyo yetu peke yetu, kuna familia nyingi zimepatwa na hili janga.
Residents have called on the government to put strict measures, especially on agents recruiting workers to Saudi Arabia, saying that many families have lost their members in the Gulf countries.
Alienda akicheka na saizi amerudi amenyamaza, venye hata iongea tena. Serikali ningetaka tu kuomba ingilie kati kuhusu mambo kama haya, sababu kwa nini nchi zote za Uarabuni, Qatar, Dubai, Malaysia huko kwingine kwa tujaisikia janga lolote? Kwa nini Saudi Arabia peke yake watu wanakuja tu wakiwa wameaga.
Tunaomba serikali kwamba hasa kupitia wizara ya Foreign Affairs tukue na policies ama tukue na mikakati ambayo inatusaidia kuguide wale agents na pia katika ofisi za embassies kwamba kama kuna wasichana wetu ama vijana ambao wanaenda huko nje waweze kushughulikiwa kwa hali ambayo inafaa.
During the vetting of cabinet secretaries nominees, it was revealed that since January this year, 62 Kenyans have so far died working in Saudi Arabia under mysterious circumstances. Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Now, more than 150 taxi vehicles and borders belonging to Kenyan operators in the border town of Moyale are being held by authorities in the neighboring country of Ethiopia, more than 6 months since a crackdown on foreigners began in the country. The operators have decried frustrations in attempts to reclaim their hard-earned assets, further calling on the Kenyan government to intervene. Andrin Kilemi reports.
Tension is high at the border in Moyale town following a 6-month-long tussle between Kenya and Ethiopia after at least 150 taxi vehicles and borders were impounded by the Ethiopian government authorities, conducting a crackdown on foreigners in the country. Following the crackdown, many youth on the Kenyan side have been rendered jobless, while others have been reported to be slowly sinking into alcoholism and depression, further stalling business operations in town.
Patukupata habari yote, siku moja tu tumegutuka tu wameanza kushika magari zetu na pikipiki zetu. Lakini baada ya hayo tuliweza kufanya mkutano mingi sana. Na tukaweza kuzungumza paka wa leo hatujapata any tatuzi.
Watoto hata kwanza ni idle, ni pikipiki ndio inawaweka busy, inafanya kuwa busy. So watoto wanarudi kwa baranda, pombe ni cheap hapa, wanakunywa hii pombe kali ya bei rahisi, miraa ndio hiyo, bangi ndio hiyo, zote zinatoka huko kwao.
Taxi drivers have decried frustrations in attempts to reclaim their hard-earned assets, narrating their harrowing ordeals in the hands of the federal government of Ethiopia security officers.
Mbeleni tulikuwa tunaenda the other side, tunachukua mizigo, tunakuja tunauza. Saa hizi hiyo mizigo siwezi beba na mkono. Nikisema nitabeba na mkono, nitabeba wiki mzima. Ningekuwa na pikipiki hiyo na haya, pikipiki kwenda huko ni pesa kidogo kuliko ile mimi nikibeba kutoka hapa mpaka huko ni wiki mzima naweza leta hiyo mizigo. Tafadhali wa vijana wetu wanaumia, young generation. Mimi ni mama sikatai, hata mimi ni mama nimezaa. Hawa kesho watakuwa aje?
However, authorities in Moyale have assured residents of an immediate solution with a cross-border meeting slated for Thursday to iron out issues and further hasten economic growth. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
Elsewhere, President William Ruto has rubbished the Qazimtani project initiated under former President Uhuru Kenyatta to cushion unemployed youth and those affected by the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. And as Paul Kirobi tells us, Ruto now says that employment will be available through the housing project that is currently undertaken.
In what appears as a different strategy to solve the unemployment crisis facing the country due to the high number of unemployed youth, President William Ruto has rubbished the Qazimtani program that was initiated under the regime of former President Uhuru Kenyatta. In his address while launching the groundbreaking of a housing project to upgrade the slum areas, Ruto said the Qazimtani program will be replaced by others like building houses as a plan aimed at addressing the housing challenge.
Katika hii mpango hapa tutakuwa na nafasi ya ajira ya vijana 2,500 katika hii mpango. Najua nyinyi mumeniambia ya kwamba mnataka ile kazi ya kazi mtaani. Munisikize, sikizeni. Mambo ya kazi mtaani ni mambo zamani. Ile kazi mtaani ya kuokota takataka na nini hapana. Tuachane na hiyo.
Ruto spoke in Soweto Kibra, a region that has been perceived as Raila Odinga's so-called political bedroom. The housing program that was initiated by the Jubilee government under the Big Four agenda aimed at providing affordable housing to needy families. Ruto says in 2 years' time, he will be making a comeback to give out the houses.
Leo nimekuja hapa kutimiza hiyo ahadi. Na mimi nataka niwahakikishie ndani ya miaka 2.5 nitarudi hapa tena ili niwakabidhi manyumba zenu wale watu mnaishi hapa. Nyinyi mnaelewa ya kwamba pale mbeleni tulikuwa na slum upgrading.
Na dada zetu ni kwamba mahali rais anaenda, he carries the entire leadership with him. Because ukiangalia hapa, sasa mmesikia Tom Mburu ameongea. Yeye mkuu wa pensions. Kuna bank wako hapa. Bankers are here. You had KCB. Mkiangalia kuna developers who are here. Investors.
Early this month, President William Ruto had visited Mukuru kwa Njenga to inspect the affordable housing project before visiting Ongata Rongai for the same in Kajiado County. And today, he was in Kibra for a groundbreaking ceremony where he promised the low-income earners a better lifestyle. The president launched the construction of 4,054 units for former slum dwellers in Kibra, Soweto social housing project.
Niliandikia PS tarehe 19, alikuwa ameniandikia kutoa approval ya hii kazi ianze without all of those technical steps. Pia ile restriction ya kwenda juu wanasema usipite a certain height, tumetoa hiyo approval. Na pia waweze kuanza kazi kabla ya kuupload title deed ambayo tunatafuta, tumetoa hizo approval.
Sisi tunakukaribisha hapa Lang'ata, kazi ianze, na tuko na request moja na namuona governor yuko hapa. Kwa sababu kazi inaendelea. Kitu ya kwanza tungeomba, tunataka hapa kutengenezwe na fire station.
And you said you would be bringing a bill for the housing fund. We are waiting anxiously for it because we want our citizens to live with dignity.
Under the program, the president reiterated a one-bedroom house will go for 2,400 shillings a month compared to other areas where housing is becoming expensive. Ruto says the target is to create 2,500 more employment opportunities as compared to the previous Qazimtani project. Ruto was accompanied by Transport CS James Macharia, Lang'ata MP Felix Oduor, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, Nairobi Women Representative Esther Passaris, among other leaders. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Paul, for that report. Now, just 3 weeks after the government lifted the 10-year ban on GMO, the Azimio la Umoja coalition has threatened to fight GMO both in court and farms across the country, further urging Kenyans to reject the crops. Through a press statement, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition rebuked the government's move to reintroduce GMO, saying that the move is only an avenue to use Kenyans as guinea pigs amidst international uncertainties. Sentiments echoed by a section of farmers from Kisumu County.
Imagine if we bring GMOs on board, then what will happen to those other communities who are even suffering, who are in worse conditions than ourselves? So we are condemning this in the strongest terms possible with my other colleagues, and they are just not a few. We are far and wide, and we are telling the president once again to revisit his decision and to consult widely. Let him go and have a special platform where there can be some kind of discussion so that we look at the pros and cons around GMO.
To our farmers within the Republic, let us join hands, let us have a very strong force, let us petition the government so that at least he can listen to us.
As it stands today, even though the argument is that it will help the majority who are starved, but how many of the farmers will be able to afford the rollout of this technology to produce the food or even to bring in the food that we want?
We need the sciences. We need the biotechnology to come and clean all the varieties that farmers are holding as indigenous. After all, the Constitution of Kenya asks the government to recognize farmers' indigenous varieties and help them to protect them because it is for the benefit of the community.
Moving on, Rishi Sunak has been appointed as Britain's Prime Minister, replacing Liz Truss, who announced her resignation last week after a 6-week stint. Sunak was appointed to the position after an audience with King Charles III in Buckingham Palace. Britain's new Prime Minister said that he will place the economic stability and confidence at the heart of his agenda.
I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come. But you saw me during COVID doing everything I could to protect people and businesses with schemes like furlough. There are always limits, more so now than ever. But I promise you this, I will bring that same compassion to the challenges we face today. The government I lead will not leave the next generation, your children and grandchildren, with a debt to settle that we were too weak to pay ourselves.
From my time as Prime Minister, I am more convinced than ever that we need to be bold and confront the challenges that we face. As the Roman philosopher Seneca wrote, it's not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. We simply cannot afford to be a low-growth country where the government takes up an increasing share of our national wealth and where there are huge divides between different parts of our country. We need to take advantage of our Brexit freedoms to do things differently. This means delivering more freedom for our own citizens and restoring power to democratic institutions.
Let's count the cost and get to the world of business. And over 1,500 fishermen from 6 counties forming the Coastal Counties Association are set to benefit from a grant given by Go Blue investors in collaboration with the European Union. Speaking during the launch of the Coastal Counties Association office in Nyali, Tana River Governor said that among the projects that will be funded by the grant is training the youth on blue economy and funding their practices, as well as funding small business enterprises and beach management in all the coastal towns.
Building ya BMUs ambazo zingine zimefundishwa kuhusu financial management, wamesapotiwa na boats, vifaa vya uvuvi. Kwangu tayari niko na watu 284 ambao wamepitia mafunzo hayo na sasa tayari wanaendelea na shughuli zao. Wako na boats zile zetu za county ambazo wanaendelea kufanya kazi kule baharini na bado tunangojea boats zingine zije na vifaa vingine vije.
This is a great demonstration on how working together can bring progress and advancement, both economically and from an environmental perspective.
Sea matters without linking to the land as well. That's why the component we are bringing is related to planning, urban planning, to make sure there's a control of the rapid urbanization and this urban population is not having impact on a marine ecosystem and resources. But at the same time, when cities are well planned and well managed, we can see the benefit, of tapping on this, blue economy to establish a stronger economy at the local level.
La muhimu ilikuwa ni kufungua hii ofisi ambayo tuko na hapa. Ofisi hii ndio itakuwa ni ofisi kuu ya Jumuiya ya Kaunti za Pwani.
Now, the government, in collaboration with the private sector, has come up with a financial solution to support seafarers to meet their cost of embarking and getting on board after recruitment. Speaking in Mombasa during the signing of a memorandum between the Kenya Commercial Bank and the Kenya Maritime Authority that is set to offer loans to seafarers recruits that will be paid once they get onboarded. Principal Secretary, State Department for Shipping Maritime, said that the loan will enable recruits to meet the requirements such as vaccination, medical examination and visa costs.
It means that they may not be able to meet the costs of embarkation. And that's why this program with Kenya Commercial Bank Group has been birthed today. It's one thing getting a job, but being able to access that job is another thing.
So hii ni nafasi nzuri kwamba mtu unapewa mkopo, unachukua pesa, unagharimika katika yale mahitaji yako yote ambayo unahitaji, unapanda chombo na baada ukishakwenda unakuwa na njia rahisi ya kujilipia polepole gharama.
Those embarkation costs have certain mandatory requirements from International Maritime Organization as well as the World Health Organization in terms of the health medical test, in terms of the training certifications and other immigration documents which are required by the countries where these ships are going to dock at.
Now, in a bid to digitally empower school pupils locally, Liquid Intelligent Technologies, a Pan-African technology group, has partnered with a single board computer developer foundation seeking partnership. During the event, Liquid Chief Technology Innovations Officer Ben Roberts noted that the initiative aims at providing devices to school pupils in the country so that they can increase their knowledge of programming and coding.
On the Raspberry Pi platform, and so that one scaled universities, and then
we've definitely experienced some difficulties with the tax and the duty environment. It can be expensive. A big focus for us is providing the lowest. We never want price to be a barrier. We never want money to be a barrier to a young person getting experience with computing. We have found that the tax, and in particular the duty environment here in Kenya, does cause our products to be more expensive than we might hope they would be. Certainly it is a little more expensive to buy a Raspberry Pi computer here in Kenya than it is for an equivalent child to buy a Raspberry Pi computer in the United Kingdom.
But we're also working in partnership with private schools and their associations and helping them. We don't want them to be left behind when it comes to financing. Government can bring financing to large education infra projects. Private schools, they have to go to the banks. So we're looking at commercial banks and development financing to make sure that no school is left behind, and not just government schools.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's untold stories?
Welcome back. Let's get to the world of sports. Dennis Otieno is with me in studio. Dennis, good evening. What do you have for us from the world of sports tonight?
Good evening to you, to Abubakar Abdullahi. Now tonight we will be telling you about an accolade won by the legend of marathon Eliud Kipchoge. We shall also be telling you about the preparations that are underway for the Standard Chartered Marathon. Now just to start us off is matters athletics. Now, double Olympic marathon champion Eliud Kipchoge was earlier today feted as the LG SJAC Sports Personality of the month of September. Kipchoge was feted owing to his successful exploits in the Berlin Marathon on September 25th, where he broke his own record in a time of 2 hours, 1 minute and 9 seconds. To honor Kipchoge's achievement, he was awarded an LG refrigerator, which doubles up as a top mount freezer and a water dispenser worth 150,000 shillings and a personalized trophy. Speaking at the LG Eldoret showroom, Kipchoge expressed his gratitude towards SJAC and LG for constantly recognizing sportsmen and women for their efforts and glory brought to the country through their exemplary performances.
I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be recognized actually as a sportsman of the month. I think this is a big motivation after doing a good job, and I can say I'm really happy, and I am thankful to SJAC and the sponsors. Play is a universal event whereby it plays. It's a universal business. It's a universal event, and it plays everywhere. So I encourage all the corporates to come in. It's sport is where you can actually sell your idea, because at the end of it you can be in your office, but you can watch sports over the weekend, you can watch sports in the evening, and it's the only way to expose your business. For me, every day is a challenge, and I challenge myself, and I think all will be well. Yeah, that's what's in my bucket list, to win all the 6, yes, and get the 6th medal.
Congratulations to Eliud Kipchoge. Meanwhile, preparations for the 19th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, slated for 30th October this year, have intensified as the schedule for the race that has attracted over 15,000 participants was released earlier today at the Uhuru Gardens. The iconic race is expected to start from the Uhuru Gardens along Langata Road before gracing the southern bypass in a loop that heads back to the Uhuru Gardens. In order to have a successful marathon, the Nairobi Traffic Department has created a schedule of road closures and detours that will redirect traffic to and from the southern bypass to alternate routes. Speaking during the release of the schedule, Deputy Head Traffic Police Commander Mrs. Mary Kiarie said that they are working towards minimizing the inconvenience to drivers and pedestrians.
We have 97 participants registered for the wheelchair race. We have 14 teams registered for the 42 kilometers corporate relay. We have 6,509 registered for the 10K race, and we have about 2,700 for the family fun. Some of the notable names include Asbel Kipruto, Bravin Kiprop, Priska Jepto, who won the New York Marathon a few years back, Shailene Jepkoril Toroitich, who was second in the Eldoret City Marathon and the Uhuru Classic Marathon.
We are basically supporting